En el nombre del Padre, y del Hijo.
Buildings swayed. Alarms blared. People rushed into the streets in their pajamas. In Bogotá, Colombia, the ground suddenly lurched, a powerful earthquake jolting the capital without warning and sending shockwaves of fear through millions of residents. What felt like a single violent jolt quickly turned into moments of uncertainty. High-rise towers rocked back and forth. Furniture slid across floors. Traffic came to a standstill as drivers froze mid-road, unsure whether a stronger quake was about to follow. Within minutes, social media lit up with raw, unfiltered footage, the first signs of a city trying to understand what had just happened. Emergency calls flooded in. Evacuation protocols kicked into place. And across Colombia, one question echoed again and again. Was this the main shock or just the beginning? This wasn't just another tremor. It was a reminder of how fast normal life can be shaken and how little warning the earth gives when it moves. The earthquake struck without warning, delivering a sharp, forceful jolt that was felt across Bogotá and surrounding regions. Residents described a sudden horizontal shaking that caused buildings to sway and internal alarm systems to activate almost instantly. In apartment towers and office buildings, evacuation protocols kicked in as people moved quickly toward stairwells and open areas, unsure how long the shaking would last. The motion was strong enough to rattle windows, set fixtures vibrating, and make even sturdy structures feel unstable for several tense seconds. As the tremor rippled through the capital, confusion spread just as fast as fear. Some residents froze in place while others rushed outside, phones in hand, trying to confirm what they had just felt. In a city where earthquakes can arrive with little notice, the suddenness of the jolt was unsettling. For many, the immediate concern wasn't damage, it was the possibility of aftershocks and whether a stronger quake might follow.
Estamos en Santa Cecilia. Nosotros estábamos ahí, literal. ¿Fue el epicentro? 10 kilómetros hacia abajo.
Within minutes of the shaking, Bogotá's streets and digital spaces filled with uncertainty. As residents gathered outside apartment buildings and office towers, many turned instinctively to their phones. Social media became the fastest source of information, with videos flooding platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok. Shaky footage showed ceiling lights swinging, furniture sliding across floors, and alarm sirens echoing through residential complexes. Some clips captured people evacuating barefoot or wrapped in blankets, still trying to process what had just happened. Across the city, fear was amplified by not knowing what would come next. Drivers stopped their cars in the middle of busy roads, hesitant to move under overpasses or near tall buildings. Sidewalks filled with people staring upward, watching windows and balconies for signs of damage. In many neighborhoods, residents chose to remain outside, worried that returning indoors too quickly could put them at risk if an aftershock followed. Conversations centered on the same question: was that it, or was a stronger quake coming? The rapid spread of images and first-hand accounts intensified the emotional impact. Each new video seemed to confirm how widespread the shaking had been, reaching far beyond a single neighborhood. At the same time, conflicting information added to the tension as people tried to gauge the strength of the quake based on what others were experiencing. In those early moments before official updates arrived, uncertainty fueled anxiety, turning a sudden geological event into a citywide pause filled with fear, speculation, and waiting.
Correr. Uy, pucha. Dios mío.
Necesita muy temprano.
¡Temblando mucho! ¡Ay! Pero horrible, horrible.
As the shaking subsided, Bogotá briefly came to a standstill. Traffic slowed to a crawl as drivers hesitated at intersections, unsure whether it was safe to proceed or pull over. In some areas, vehicles stopped altogether, creating sudden bottlenecks while people waited for clarity. Businesses paused, operations, employees stepped outside, and building managers conducted quick head counts to make sure everyone had made it out safely. Beyond the capital, reports confirmed the tremor was felt across multiple regions, including Tolima and Boyacá, underscoring the quake's reach. Residents in those areas described strong side-to-side motion that knocked items from shelves and caused minor cracking in walls. Universities acted swiftly, suspending classes and directing students to open spaces as a precaution, while public announcements urged calm and vigilance. In those tense minutes after the quake, the city existed in a state of watchful waiting. People checked on neighbors, scanned buildings for visible damage, and listened closely for official guidance. While the shaking had stopped, the sense of vulnerability lingered, an uneasy reminder that when the ground moves, even the largest cities can be brought to a pause in an instant.
¡Cuidado, cuidado! ¡Cuidado!
Là, tu filmes, tu fais 10K. Là, tu filmes, là, tu fais 10K tout de suite.
As residents waited for answers, emergency services moved quickly to assess the situation. Dispatch centers across the region began receiving dozens of calls from concerned residents reporting shaking, minor damage, and questions about safety. Firefighters, police, and civil defense teams were deployed to key areas, while structural engineers were sent to inspect high-rise buildings, public facilities, and critical infrastructure in Bogotá. Several hospitals activated their emergency protocols, temporarily relocating patients to safer sections of their facilities while checks were carried out. Medical staff prepared for the possibility of injuries, even as initial reports suggested no widespread casualties. At the same time, city officials coordinated with utility companies to monitor power systems after brief outages were reported in some rural zones. Universities and government offices followed precautionary procedures, keeping buildings closed until inspections could be completed. The focus during these critical moments was clear: confirm structural safety, prevent panic, and ensure that any hidden risks were identified before normal activity resumed. While the quake itself was brief, the response reflected the seriousness with which authorities treated the potential for aftershocks and unseen damage. As inspections continued and official reports came in, authorities began to piece together the full picture of the earthquake's impact. Despite the intense shaking and widespread fear, major structural damage was not reported in Bogotá or the surrounding regions. Most of the issues documented were minor but visible reminders of the force residents had just experienced: broken windows, fallen ceiling tiles, cracked plaster, and displaced fixtures inside homes and offices. In a few rural areas, brief power outages were reported as crews worked to stabilize local systems. For many residents, the confirmation brought a sense of relief, even as nerves remained high. People cautiously returned to buildings after receiving clearance, while others chose to stay outside, longer wary of potential aftershocks. Engineers emphasized that even minor damage would be monitored closely, especially in older structures and high-rise buildings where stress can accumulate unnoticed. While Colombia avoided a worst-case scenario this time, the aftermath served as a sobering reminder. The earthquake may not have caused widespread destruction, but it exposed how quickly fear can spread and how vulnerable dense urban centers can feel when the ground begins to move. Relief replaced panic, but awareness lingered along with the understanding that the earth offers no warning before it shakes again.
¿Fue el epicentro? 10 kilómetros. Estamos en Santa Cecilia. Nosotros estábamos ahí, literal.
As calm slowly returned to Bogotá and surrounding regions, one reality became clear. This earthquake was a powerful reminder of how suddenly life can be disrupted. In just a few seconds, buildings swayed, alarms sounded, and an entire city paused, waiting to see what would happen next. This time, the damage was limited, but the fear was real. Earthquakes don't come with warnings, and preparedness matters long before the ground starts moving. Staying informed, knowing evacuation procedures, and understanding structural safety can make a critical difference when seconds count. If you found this report informative, please like the video and share it with friends and family to help spread awareness about earthquake safety and emergency preparedness. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced an earthquake where the shaking caught you completely off guard? What did you do in those first moments? Share your story in the comments and stay safe, because when the earth moves, every second matters.